Well, the real question is, do you want to be rich and warm or cold and poor? Because currently, the net zero policies we're following are going to make us cold and poor. And there are a couple of stories around at the moment that reinforce that. First of all, Ofgem has put up the rate that people can charge for energy this October, not because of anything to do with global markets, not because the gas price has gone up, but purely because of policy decisions made by the government in relation to net zero and into subsidizing energy for people who can't afford it. Now, the first of these is to do with the network. The network was built to have a small number of electricity generating stations feeding in to a system that then disperses it to households. It's really straightforward. You have dozens of generators, but you don't need that many. You have some very big ones, the nuclear ones. You then have smaller ones running on gas or historically coal that feed in lots of energy that then gets distributed to individuals and businesses. With wind power and solar power, you have a different system requirement. Instead of having a few big places, you have lots and lots and lots and lots of little ones, all of them feeding in a small amount of electricity, which is then similarly dispersed. But that's a very different type of system from the one historically that we've had, and it needs billions of pounds spent on it. So in this month's announcement on bills, money is going for the network. It's costing you more. It's one of the hidden costs of renewables. And they don't like to talk about it. They like to say the cost per kilowatt hour from a wind turbine is low once it's all up and running. They always ignore these excessive and high capital costs. That's not to say there wouldn't always be some investment in the grid. Of course there is. But this is a change in the structure of the grid necessitated purely because of renewables. It is a purely renewable additional cost. The second aspect of the rise is the warm homes discount, to give money to poorer households to help them with their bills. Now you may say that's fair enough. I would actually say it's completely the wrong way of doing it. That if you want to give people benefits, you should do it through the tax and benefits system, rather than trying to hide it, trying to pretend it's not part of the tax system by putting it in to energy bills. Why should you pay more for your energy to subsidize your next door neighbor? Perhaps your next door neighbor might think of getting a job. Is it really fair to give people a further incentive to remain on welfare rather than going out to work by giving them this extra help, not through the benefit system, but actually through their bills paid for by your bills? That's my view of it. So these two reasons, nothing to do with the international gas price, nothing to do with international energy prices, which some people are forecasting will come down anyway, because actually a lot of extra supply has been coming on because of the high prices that followed the beginnings of the war in Ukraine. I wouldn't be so sure about that. There are other reasons for thinking things may be changing, and there may be attacks on the Russian energy system that limit its ability to sell its energy, which, although it's subject to sanctions, is still feeding through to global markets and having an effect on pricing. So there are competing forces within global energy markets, as there always are. First point to get across is that your bills went up at the beginning of October because of the aim for net zero. You then have, in addition to that, the announcement that £1 billion has been spent, I think it works out at £34 per household, on switching off wind energy when there's too much electricity being generated by it. Now, this is absolutely ridiculous. This shows that renewables are not a market solution. They are an ideological solution that are increasing charges. Why does this happen? Why is there this charge? Well, the wind doesn't blow at the right time. It blows when people aren't using energy, but the contracts they have allow them to sell all the energy that they produce, regardless of the time of day at which they produce it. It really is money for old rope. It's guaranteed, contractual, contract for different pricing, So they get a set amount whether their electricity is wanted or not. Now, of course, if you're a gas-powered station, you only get paid when you produce energy. And because of the way we've structured the market, you only get switched on at the point at which wind isn't providing any energy. And so you're not running at the highest maximum efficiency, you're actually running less efficiently than you need to. So this is really important to understand. The structure of policy is making energy prices higher. And we get at the same time this week the report comes out from an international energy agency saying the UK's energy prices are the highest in the world for industrial energy and the second highest in the world for retail energy. This is a choice. This is not a structure of our economy. It is a choice based on a green ideology. So thank heavens, Debbie Badenoch has come out and said that she is no longer going to follow the net zero targets. In her view, the net zero targets are not in the best interest of the country, and I heartily agree with her. It is madness that we are going to cut our whole car industry by 2030. Continental Europe, they're talking about doing it in 2035, but even that won't happen because the German car companies are now being quite clear that that's too much for them to do, and they're a very powerful lobby. So we will be sacrificing one of our major industries, one of our major exporters, for an ideological desire to make us cold and poor. And you saw this in dear old Ed Miliband's speech to the Labour Party conference. No doubt all my viewers were absolutely hooked to every word of his speech. But in case you weren't, let me highlight what he said about fracking. He said he was going to ban fracking forever. Well, fracking takes place anyway in the North Sea. It's one of the ways that we extract oil and gas. It's a perfectly reasonable way of extracting oil and gas. It's part of the routine means of getting oil and gas out. And unless we close down the whole of the North Sea, which he might want to do, we will in fact carry on having fracking regardless. What he's talking about is more fracking to get the gas that we are sitting on across the country out. And again, this is ideological. There is no technical reason, there is no economic reason, there is no earthquake reason not to frack as America has done so successfully, and as I say, as we already do. And what does it do if we frack? It provides us with potentially enormous quantities of gas, and this would reduce the price. And why would it reduce the price? Simply because of supply and demand. I accept that we are in a semi-global market. There are actually a number of global markets. We're in a European market, with Norway being a very dominant part of it. We're another important part of it, and liquefied natural gas is another part of it. That's much more expensive because you have to liquefy it and then regasify it, which uses a lot of energy in itself, and you have to ship it in from the Middle East or indeed from the United States. So there is a European international price. But if we suddenly increased our supply, that price would reduce and it would replace the need for LNG to be imported. It would be a fundamental change in the market and would make us less reliant on imports, more prosperous ourselves. It would keep the money that is going abroad in the UK, actually potentially earn us money as we would be able to export it. So this is choice, and it's a really simple choice between rich and warm or cold and poor. I'm a conservative. I'm on the side of voters, not of ideology. I want the standard of living of people in this country to improve. And the way to do that throughout all of history has been through cheap energy. You can go back to Prometheus when he first brought fire, which he got a very nasty punishment. From then on, cheap energy has been at the heart of economic development. The Industrial Revolution was dependent upon cheap energy. We now are, for ideological reasons, making our economy work less well. Other countries aren't. We should follow them, we should follow America, and we should not drill baby drill, but we should frack baby frack and be warm and rich. Thank you for watching.